This interview is being tape recorded. My name is Paul Maliri and this is X Job Downloaded. And today I'm interviewing Alka Mistry, a mystery. That is how you introduce yourself to me at Leicester City Football Club. Welcome to my podcast and thank you so much for agreeing to take part in this today.
Thank you.
Now, what was your inspiration to join the police service? Why did you want to become a copper and what was your journey like?
Yeah, so this is long, so excuse me if I talk for a very long time now, but growing up as a child, I never thought about joining the police service. It wasn't anything that I was ever going to be thinking about. It just never dawned on me. And I grew up, so rewind, I was born in Kenya, like a lot of Asians in England. So I was born in Kenya in 1969, and we actually left Kenya in 1971, just before I turned 2.
Right.
So we left a little bit before anything. People were asked to leave from Uganda, although we weren't in Uganda. But it was always in my parents' plans to move for more opportunities for everyone, but particularly the children, and particularly for education and vocation for the children. So we came here, and I'm the youngest of 5 siblings. So I have no memory of Kenya whatsoever. I have no memory of arriving in the UK, and I barely have any memory on arrival until I was more grown up in Leicester. So I'm told on arrival, we didn't live in Leicester. We lived in North London.
Right.
Because that's where a lot of family already lived, and cousins and the like. So we lived there. It's really expensive. My mum had come with 5 kids, no command of the language, and my dad hadn't come across yet. So we quickly moved to Leicester, which is where most of my memories are. And one of my biggest memories growing up, which was in a predominantly Asian area of Leicester, was when I went to primary school, infant school. My teacher was an Indian woman that wore a sari back in the 70s. She was the only person that looked like that in that school. And she actually went on to be a councillor and the Lord Mayor of Leicester,
Wow.
as it happened. Yeah, Manjula Sood. Unfortunately, we sadly lost her over Christmas last year, but she was at my school as my actual teacher. So I'd seen her do that. Growing up really quiet, really shy, brought up in a very strict Hindu household. We were 2 girls and 3 boys, which was the siblings, and there was definitely distinct differences and boundaries between us. And I think even though we'd come here for opportunity and all of that, I think the plan was girls were to just like get their education, find a decent, suitable boy from a decent, suitable, I'm laughing already, family, and they would settle with that, and the lads would hopefully make some good vocations and then find similar women. So I grew up with that in mind, went through school, didn't do too badly, had a bit of a flair for languages, if I'm honest, really liked that. That wasn't really what was the expectation. It was more science and stuff like that. It wasn't the best at, but I decided I was going to be a doctor. A really, really long way to go. Did GCSEs, and then I started to think, I'm being a pathologist, actually.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, and I always used to read Agatha Christie books and was really interested in crime, but never thought I was interested in crime because I didn't think I was allowed to be interested in crime. And lawyer wasn't really mentioned or a thing. So I went through school, and then I ended up going to college and did a diploma in business, and was going to just find a job and try and make my way up the ladder in whatever job I found. And it took me a few goes. I worked at the Chamber of Commerce, which was great. Like, what I liked about it was the foyer had world clocks and world times, and I had this massive interest in the world. But my wings were a bit clipped with travel, solo travel and the like. We never went on holidays, and it wasn't really a thing for me to go off on my own. But I did find a way to do it and did do it in the future. But that was one. And then I ended up in this insurance company where I worked for 9 years. And I did do a lot of different exams and all sorts of things, and made my way through different departments and up. But it's predominantly office based, and I was into the gym and sport and football, and so I was just different. And actually, I thought I wouldn't mind being outdoors. Well, that job came to an end upon redundancy, and at this point, the talk was all about finding a suitable boy for an arranged marriage and all of this. And I ended up getting engaged to someone that I barely knew, didn't want to get engaged to, I didn't think, but went along with it. But as the time got closer, and I think the law was that he lived abroad in a European country.
Right.
But actually, the closer it got, the more I realised this isn't what I want. I don't know this person. I don't actually overly like them either. And no, this isn't right. So if I want to be brave, now's the time to be brave. So I was extremely brave, and said, nah, I don't want this.
Cool.
This isn't for me. Yeah. And at that point, my dad never spoke to me again.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, not happy at all. All of these things. I ended up going on holiday to India with family, just to get away for a bit. Came back, wanted to join. I wanted to work outdoors, and amongst this journey, I had started to volunteer at a women's centre in Leicester as a volunteer, and I was multifaceted, really. I was the treasurer, but I also organised and ran the events and used to compare and have a flair for hospitality, which I really enjoy as well. So I knew I wanted to be somewhere in that type of sector, because we used to get women coming in, and we would signpost to agencies and the like because of domestic abuse or different things. So I started to realise that maybe that's what I want to do. So I mooted the idea of joining the police, which went down like a lead balloon. So I'd already upset everyone with the engagement. And then I had another go and said, I want to join the police, all of this. No, that's not doing that. That's not what we do. I could have found lots of suitors for you, this, that, and the other. So that was said to be a no. And at which point I met someone as well while I was going through the process, and mooted the idea of him, which was also a no, because he was of a different community to us. I don't like using the word or the system, and I don't believe in it either, but he was a different caste.
Yeah.
Same religion. But that was also a no, and it ended up in being chucked out of the house.
No.
So I was like, okay, I may as well join the police then, because my application, I'd been accepted, So I thought, I'm going to make a stance now. It's now or never. I was the youngest of all the 5 siblings, the youngest girl. And I thought, what's the point? Nobody listens, nobody supports. Why have I been chucked out of the house? you know, the person that I've chosen is really decent. The job that I've chosen is serving the community. So I thought, no, I'm going to do it. So that day, in the night, I drove to headquarters and posted my acceptance through their letterbox without knowing where I was going to live, what I was going to do, all of that. But
How
I was
courageous! How courageous is
yeah,
that? Honestly, I
yeah,
mean, I'm going to go back a little bit because I'm absolutely fascinated. All right,
yeah,
it's counter to what we in the UK are used to because we don't discuss these things. And
no.
did you ever speak to your dad again?
Not really, no,
There was always that
no,
frosty relationship. Now,
yeah.
if I take you back, what did your dad actually do for a living? What was his occupation?
He was a traffic warden
Was he?
for Leicestershire Constabulary, yeah,
So he knew
yeah,
about serving the public and how important that was.
yeah,
And but religious values and the caste system, which is something that again we're not privy to.
yeah.
We don't actually we don't understand that. Are there 7 castes? And I don't know. I mean, I watched my lovely friend Rob Rinder. He was out in India recently with Ryland, and I find India fascinating.
Yeah.
My wife's family, her grandmother was Anglo-Indian. She was born in the Punjab, and her great grandfather was a superintendent on the railways. So we've got that affinity. And my father-in-law, who's now 93, this is about you, not me, by the way, but
Yeah.
if he goes into the sun, you would think
Yeah.
he was Asian. There is absolutely
What?
honestly, I will send you a picture. You would think he was Asian, and yeah, and so we've got that affinity. And
Yeah,
I love India.
absolutely.
Whereabouts in India did your family come from before they went to Kenya?
So the Gujarat. So my dad's family was from Bhogat, which I'm not sure where that is. But my mum's family was from Jamnagar, which is close to Porbandar, where Gandhi was born.
Right.
That part of India. So you got Rajkot, Porbandar, Jamnagar, those kind of that part of India, Gujarati speaking.
In fact, I don't know if I told you this, and we'll come back onto your story, but I was on a murder inquiry where 3 men had died in a lorry. Basically, they'd been brought in clandestine, and our
Yeah.
inquiries took us to Leicester, and we're doing house to house inquiries, and we want to see a specific family, and we go there, and the lady doesn't speak any English at all, so
Yeah.
we see a PCSO, and I said, we've got this lady. We're trying to find someone who speaks Gujarati. She said, "Oh, I speak Gujarati," and that was it. That was it. It was absolutely brilliant. I absolutely loved
Yeah.
working in Leicester. So,
Yeah.
so
Great.
how did your 4 siblings feel about you joining the police? What were their occupations by these time?
So my eldest brother was in the Royal Air Force, serving the country.
Wow.
Um, my sister had an arranged marriage and gone abroad, and lived there and had her own business. Then my brother, he'd studied at university and had got a job in something biochemistry on the sales side, I think. And my younger brother had his own businesses. I say younger, he was the youngest of the boys,
Yeah.
had his own businesses. So they all had all of that. But I had worked in one place, realised I didn't like it, preferred my voluntary role to my paid role, wanted to serve the country, but also make a difference, be outdoors, and the police fitted all those bills. And the police, I thought, was a credible choice. So we've got people that we had somebody we knew as a family friend, where their eldest lad had been in the army and then joined the police,
Right.
and everybody was really proud of him. But nobody wanted me to do it.
Oh.
So Yeah.
So it's 1998, there or
Yeah.
thereabouts, and
Yeah.
you've put your form through the front door of acceptance of Leicestershire Police Headquarters. Is it at Hinckley? I can't even remember where the headquarters.
It's in Enderby, and it was 1997 at that time. I
19,
joined in 98. Yeah.
1997. So you put your form through the door. You.
Yeah.
How did you feel?
Well, I felt difficult to describe, but maybe I felt a little bit anxious, but also excited. But I felt a little bit worried, and I felt that it was my last chance to do something, and I realized I needed to do something that was stable because I needed to sort out my own where to live and all of these things. So there was a lot riding on it, to be fair, but I did feel that by posting that, have I lost my family, which is a really, really big, I'm really family orientated, so that's difficult. So I found it really difficult, and I never really knew if I would stay even. But what I did know was it also meant that I could be independent, and that I knew that I'd chosen the person I wanted to be with anyway. So I just thought I've just got to, pardon the pun, but put big girl pants on and go for it.
Yeah, and you know what? Sometimes taking courageous steps, what's the saying? Fortune favours the brave. And if you grab opportunity, who knows what that opportunity is going to bring? It doesn't always work. We know that.
No.
But the fact is that if you don't have a go, you never ever ever find out.
Yeah.
And the things we do for love. I mean, that's a 10cc song, but we do things because they're good for us and they're good for the people that we want to be with.
Yeah.
And that's the reality. So you get accepted and you hand your notice in at your old job. Where did you go for your police training? Sorry?
So I went, that handing notice in. So when I came back from India and all this had happened and kicked off, I was doing agency work. So I was doing agency work when I put that acceptance in. And then I just got a Christmas retail job because it was over a 8-week period, and I really enjoy customer service and face to face. So I just thought, I'll do that. I've got this career is going to happen, so I may as well do that. So I went in there. So I did my agency work. I could just stop when I wanted to,
right?
Which is what I did. And then I went to retail knowing that it would finish in time to start in January of 98.
So January 98, where did you go to your police training school?
So I went to Ashford in Kent.
So did I.
No way.
I did, yeah. But,
paths should have crossed.
12 years beforehand.
Yeah.
I'm a lot older than you.
But you've been to Ashford and Leicester.
And Leicester. We must be related.
Yeah, we must. Yeah, we went there because usually we'd go to Brighton from the East Midlands, but there wasn't any space. So there was a couple of cohorts, us from Leicestershire and one from Nottinghamshire.
Right.
And we went to Ashford.
So you walk into, did you have to do local stuff before you went down to Ashford? You got allocated your uniform and what have you. And I know that we discussed it off of here, but of course when I joined, we got allowances. So we got boot allowance, housing allowance. The girls got stocking allowance then. I mean, can you imagine that in this day and age? That just wouldn't.
No.
That would never happen. And so you're at Leicestershire Police Headquarters for a period of a week, I would imagine, and then you went off to Ashford.
Yeah.
What was that experience like? You're an Asian lady in a male-dominated world. Even then, because things have changed dramatically since we got electricity, and But, you know, things have changed. But what was that like for you going into that environment?
I mean, yeah, I mean, it was scary. It was a scary environment for me. But there was barely any women, let alone Asian women. It was just like barely any women. So that was one of the things. Very male, white British, mainly people there. And I was really away from home, like miles away from home. But in that week, um, I had like made some good like connections and friendships like within the cohort. So, you know, it's not long, but you've just got to, like, I'm a people person anyway. And I was very unusual, a bit of a rarity, to be honest, because let alone women, the, you know, Asian and female was really rare, even in '98.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there was a lot of people asked about it and why I wanted to join and stuff like that. And I didn't go into all of this detail, obviously. And I remember that when we went, it was either a World Cup or a Euros year in '98 when we went to Ashford. It was a football
World Cup.
competition year. The World Cup, was it?
Yeah.
I thought so. And we all used to play, and I used to go out and play, and people were like, "Are you actually for real?" Like, you know, like,
Well,
where have you come from? Like,
bend it like Beckham. That's, you know, that's that.
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, exactly. So I'd play football with the lads, because it was the lads that played. Like, none of the other women played.
Good
And
for
yeah,
you.
I just, yeah, I did fit, you know, but I didn't change myself. To this day, I still don't drink. Um, they couldn't understand that. To this day, I'm vegetarian. I remained like that. Um,
That was probably
but
the only
I just,
decent food down there. The food was dire at Ashford. I've got to tell you,
yeah,
it takes a normal human being 24 hours to turn food into feces, and they could do it in 20 minutes down at Ashford. It was absolutely dire.
it
But
was.
but
And
you,
then we,
sorry, go on.
God, so then we met officers from the Southern Forces and City of London. We met officers from they did the square mile, they
Yeah,
told us. So we met them and made friends with the people from Nottingham. Um, and I just knew then that even though it had all been really difficult, this was the right choice.
good for you. So how long were you at Ashford?
15 weeks. So when I did it, you did, excuse me, you did 10 weeks first, and then you went out on area with your shift and the station you were going to go to with your tutor. And then you came back out again 5 weeks later and did another 5.
Right.
And then you went back.
So you've done all your law courses, you've done all your end of course exam, you've had your dining in night, blah blah blah, and you go to Leicester.
Yeah.
Where do you get posted to for your first posting?
So I went to Ashby de la Zoo, which is really rural in the county,
Yep.
not in the city, and then Holville,
Right.
which is rural and in the counties.
Ashby de la Zouch, what's that famous for? Crisps? Is that where the crisps are made, or anyway, it doesn't matter.
No, there was a McVitie's factory there.
Oh.
Biscuits one. But it's not overly famous for anything. Breeden on the Hill, I think, was on the list of horror places.
Oh, really?
Something spooky places or something.
So what was that like?
But yeah, I mean, I'd never heard of Ashby or Colville. I grew up in the city, so I'd never heard of it. Didn't know what to expect. And Ashby, very affluent, not diverse whatsoever,
Really?
but nice people. Yeah. And then Colville, not diverse whatsoever, less affluent, less embracing of people that are different. Got a lot of racist abuse from
Did you?
communities. Like, if I whatever I got involved with, I ended up attaching a racially aggravated towards me, public servant or whatever it was at that
Oh,
time.
that's terrible.
Yeah, it was awful. That area was awful for me. But the teams were great, and I was supported. But it's where I was posted, and I didn't enjoy it.
That's a real shame because you're a lovely lady, and I'm not being patronising. You're very
Thank you.
engaging and smiley, and it's outrageous that people feel that they've got license really to abuse somebody who's trying their hardest to work.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be abusing anyone, but as a police officer,
Yeah.
it's hard enough as it is without a load of morons stepping up and being abusive.
Yeah.
How were your family at this time? I mean, did they ever try and dissuade you from going on the front line?
Yeah, I mean, my mum more because she was worried.
Yeah.
Because like the dangers and just for anyone really. And yeah, they did try to dissuade me. Didn't want me to be on the front line. Didn't want me working nights. And some of it was cultural, more from my dad and brothers, but from my mum was more around worrying about me, being out there.
Yeah.
I'm not sure my mum liked my entire time that I was in the police. She worried, I think. Whatever I did, she worried about it. But yeah, and then he's my husband now, but who I was with, he was worried for night shift, just thinking about the nighttime economy and the types of people and the type of thing that might happen out there. But knew that I was a strong, like I was into my fitness, that I was trained, that I had trustworthy people around me. So very supportive.
Do you think the training gave you sufficient power, if you like, for want of a better word, to actually undertake the role? Do you think you got the right training for the role?
Yeah, I think to a degree it does, because you understand why and what you can do and what your powers are, and kind of how to start, and tactical communications and all of those things. But I also think that a lot of it is about application and your own common sense and understanding and reading situations. So I think that's what they look for, isn't it, in your recruitment processes, that yes, we will teach this side of things, but have they got it in them already to understand when to do what?
Yeah.
Read situations. Will they have the capability to think about the national decision model under pressure and be able to apply it? But I think it did. I think as long as you remain calm, you because you don't just do it once. You've learned it. You've done scenarios. You've done role plays. And at the time when you first start that, you're thinking, "Oh my goodness, not another role play." But actually, when you first go out, you do realise that some of that did stay, and some of it you learn as you progress. And then from experienced crewmates, and you're not out there on your own. You're with a tutor and a team. So yeah, I think it does. But I think you've got to be the right person. If you're not
absolutely.
the right type of person, no training's going to prepare you.
No, absolutely right. I believe in meritocracy. I think if you've got the skill set to do something, you should be able to do it.
Yeah.
What was acceptance like within the police service itself? I mean, we've spoken about the public that you dealt with in your early days, but what was it like within the shifts and within the police culture itself?
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, when I worked in the more rural areas, there was less, there was very few people from other backgrounds, but the acceptance was good. Like it was that I was embraced. I was treated as one of the team. I never felt like outcast. I never had anything towards me negative. Um, and I think at the beginning I was fine. I did always think I wanted to be in the city, and then I got approached not not too long into my service by one of the bosses who was thinking of doing some operation, and he was obviously looking for people from different backgrounds. Um, but it never came to fruition. But then I thought maybe I ought to go on an identified task unit. And I did go on one, and I ended up going to Loughborough, and that was a lot more diverse demographic and the like there. And then I think when I came to the city, a lot further down in my career, it just wasn't even a thing. It just never came up. And even the communities that I served there were a lot more embracing, and I didn't get all that racism that I used to do in the counties. Um, and then I found that as I progressed, um, and coming into my more middle to later years, that's when I think there were a lot more recruitment drives, and that's when you'd sometimes not necessarily aim directly at you, but there would be comments around only getting jobs if you're female, or only getting jobs, because they need to fill those different demographics in. But there was never anything to back that up. And I always knew that all of my jobs were on merit. And I would never want a job that wasn't on merit. And if I ever thought that it was a job not offered on merit, I wouldn't even take it, But I had a good Leicester's very diverse,
Yeah.
And then as the years went on and I was more city based, absolutely no issues. But I say towards the end there was that, as more drives came in and more networks were formed, I think that's when sometimes people might think, well, I'm at a disadvantage now, but that's never the case.
That's interesting. I mean, I spoke to the head of the Sikh Police Association.
Yeah.
Who is absolutely brilliant, absolutely superb, and we had a very honest chat. There are a lot of different groups, aren't there, within the police? You've got every representative group. I suppose for me, from my perspective, and I'm not being controversial, but the Federation are actually the overarching group, and they should be protecting the rights of all the individuals within that.
Yeah.
So I suppose that's, like I say, I'm not trying to be controversial, but I suppose from my perspective, that's how I see it. I think it's absolutely right that people should be treated fairly, and that they should get, what they deserve in life through their skills and their merits. And I think that the Federation, not that I've got a huge amount of time for the Federation at the moment, if I'm honest with you, the way that they've been behaving, but I do believe that the Federation are the all-encompassing part of that. But how do you feel? Yeah. I mean, was there a Hindu police association and a Gujarati police association, and and so on and so forth?
Yeah, I mean, when I first joined, there was a Black Police Association, and then slowly others were formed. So there was a Hindu, there was a Sikh, there was an association of Muslim police officers, and I never joined any of those.
Didn't you?
I was a bit, the Federation should be covering everyone. Why do I need to join anything different?
Yeah.
So I didn't. But towards the end of my service, I actually joined the Women's Inclusive Network.
Cool.
And I really enjoyed it. And I think that stems back to right at the beginning of the podcast when I talked about my volunteering with the Women's Centre. I always have an affiliation for Women's
I think it's brilliant.
Networks.
No, I do. I absolutely agree. My granddaughter, who's 5 years old, and I've got another one coming next week, I hope.
Congratulations.
But I believe that she can do anything that she wants to do, and I think that she should be able to do anything that she wants to do. And
Agreed.
you know, of course, there are disparities in strength, and you know, in sport and all that. And I absolutely, but it doesn't mean that she can't be the top of her game in whatever game she decides to be in. And you know, whether it be hockey or golf or cricket, whatever she decides to do in her life, why shouldn't she have opportunity? Why shouldn't she be the prime minister?
Yeah.
And I believe that 100% plus. And I'm very passionate about it. You know, my grandsons, they'll have opportunity, and good luck to them as well. But you know, that's how it is.
Yeah.
How did your career path go? What routes did you actually take?
Yeah. So I did my career path, and I grew slowly, shall we say. So at the beginning, I did my response. I really loved it, and then I fell pregnant. So I joined in '98 and fell pregnant with my first in 2001.
Right.
So when I was going to have her and come back after maternity, I didn't want to be, I was on an identified task unit, and I didn't want to be on, it wouldn't be feasible with a baby. And I never wanted to do a job where I couldn't do it 100%.
Yeah.
Like, I wanted to pick and choose things that I knew I could commit to. So actually they advertised jobs in the youth offending service to be seconded for between 3 and 5 years. So I thought I'll go for that, because it's youth work as well. You know, you're 10 to 17-year-olds, your target market, and it's trying to actually not just reform, but try and stop the criminality taking place.
Yes.
So I went for that and got it. And one, it aligned with my values, and two, it fitted in with my childcare. With nurseries, you have to say what days you don't understand shift patterns. So I did that when I first had her. So when I went back to work in 2002, I went in there, and then I stayed in there and had another child in '04. And then when she became 1 in '05, I decided I wanted to be back out, but I thought I need to relearn, really. So I wanted to go to the city because it was closer to the nursery and close, not too far from home. So it was thinking forward, it would work with one that would go to school soon. So I did go in the city, and actually so many people said, "What have you done?" Like, I said, "Actually, I'm a free transfer. I've chosen to come here on a free transfer."
Yeah.
So I was so glad I did that. I quickly regained all of my skills. You know, I wasn't naive to think I knew it all, because you count numbers of years in. I knew I'd had maternity. I knew I'd been in a secondment which wasn't frontline. So I was really honest about all of that. I did my frontline, loved it, became a beat officer in that city area, covered all sorts of areas. Areas grew. And before I knew it, 4 years had gone past.
Wow.
And I thought, right, I've built my skills now. The youngest was going to go to school in '09 as well. So what did I want to do? I wanted to be a detective. So I went for it at that point. And I became a detective. I went into the child abuse unit. I did more courses. I developed more skills. I moved on to serious and complex, always learning. I did a stint in counter-corruption, still learning. And then I went on to the regional murder team, did a long amount of time in there. And then I moved out of there into training new recruits and detectives. And then I did a secondment out at Merseyside for the riots following the murders of 3 young children in
did you?
Southport.
Yeah.
Yeah, did those. I returned, and then handed in my notice to retire.
Why? What had you done your time? Or you just had enough, or just ready to?
Well, this is the thing. So in my head, I'd got a plan when I went into training, that when I leave, I will look to do something in sport. Didn't know what, but I'd done one of my vocations in life. I still felt I was young enough to have another one, and it for me it had to be sport, because let's do what we enjoy in life while we can. So what my plan was, when I returned from Merseyside, I was going to ask to go back into criminal investigations and safeguarding unit, because I felt that a role in safeguarding in sport would align with my skill set.
Yeah.
Um, but I'd already started coaching as a volunteer for Leicester City's Premier League kicks. So I was already one of their kind of on their radar. And they had a job come up in safeguarding. And they said, you qualify to apply because your class is internal. You should maybe see how it goes. And it was actually not the role I'm in. It was the women's first team safeguarding manager.
Wow.
So while I was in Merseyside, I put the application in. I got invited for interview, and I went to the interview, and it was in August, and I still had a long stint still to do in Merseyside. And they said that I'd not been successful in that role, but they had a part-time role on the women's side as a safeguarding officer in the academy, and did I want to consider that? So I could retire because I had turned 55, so I was in a great position because I could retire, but I hadn't planned to retire yet. I was thinking of doing another 5 years and all of that, but I just thought opportunities. I've been brave before.
You have.
Opportunities, yeah, they don't come often.
No.
And I knew that being brave pays off.
Yeah.
Because I've done it before. So I just thought, yeah. So actually, my plans all changed, which is why I then returned from Merseyside and put in my notice, accepted the job,
Wow.
and I walked straight into it on a part-time, and then had to find other things because it had all come too soon, like financially hadn't planned. So I became a learning support assistant with an agency in schools, which gave me so much. It was rewarding as well as lifting the skill set. Went well with safeguarding, and ended up in their hospitality as well. So I just found my way.
And you will continue to find your way, because opportunity will knock. There's absolutely no doubt about that at all. When I'm just going to take you back, because you were on counter-corruption for a while. How did you feel?
Yeah.
How did you feel about going onto that? I mean, I've got my views, and I'll share them with you very shortly. But how did you feel about going on to counter-corruption at Leicestershire?
Yeah, so that wasn't something that was in my career plan. It never was. It wasn't something that I thought I'd do. But it was, while I was in serious and complex, it was a secondment opportunity. And what happened was, they'd come in and said they needed someone, and it was whether or not the people that they approached had any association with people involved in whatever investigation it was.
Yeah.
So you weren't told anything about it. So I was put forward unbeknowingly to me. I didn't know I'd been put forward. So I got called in, got told, we've got to send someone. We think you're the right person. I'm going to ask you, I can't tell you anything else. I'm going to ask you if you've got association with these people. So do you know them? Yes. Because I'm bound to, because I've been in the cops for that long.
Yeah.
Do you associate? No. Okay. Right. Okay. Yeah. You're going on Monday.
Wow.
This was a Friday. So I went, and I was told it was 5 weeks, but you know that means times 3 generally. So I expected 15. But then when I got there, I thought 5 weeks, this is 5 years.
Oh.
So, it was, that's not what I was told. This is in my head. I just knew it was long. So I went in, and I actually found it really difficult like, I found it really hard in there. That was probably the toughest job I've ever done, because you've got to try to separate that you're dealing with colleagues. It's your investigation mindset, you're open-minded. All of those things that you are as a detective remain, but it's just really hard to,
Yeah,
separate yourself from that. Somebody could lose their job,
and
and
their
it's really
lively
difficult.
and their liberty. I mean, that's
Yeah,
the thing. I mean, I think that counter corruption is a absolutely worthy role within the
yeah,
police service. I think it's absolutely right. The corruption, there is no place for there.
yeah, agreed.
I do sometimes question the people that they go after, and I do question sometimes the ability of those people that have been put in there on the permanent roles.
Yeah,
I get
and
the secondees. I think that's brilliant because you've got people with serious skill set, but some of the permanent people have gone on there to hide away from policing, and
yeah,
and I didn't find them the best investigators. In fact, they should. Counter corruption should have the best investigators,
well,
professional
yeah,
standards, but they
yeah,
didn't. They often had people that really didn't have the skills that they should have had. But there you go.
yeah,
That's my view, and I've been in that position where I've had to have an officer arrested. And believe me, that is a really difficult
yeah,
decision to make. But
yeah,
I joined the police in the same way that you did, without fear or favour.
yeah. That's right.
And that
Yeah,
and people, even to this day, I've still got that in me, that fear, without fear or
yeah,
favour. That's how I
yeah,
deal with people.
yeah.
What were the highlights of your police service?
So lots of highlights for me. I think one of my biggest highlights was being having my children and being out there, like, you know, in the words of Beyonce, like, tough enough to bear my children and then get back to business.
Yeah,
So I was proud. I've got two girls. I couldn't be more proud, and I wore my uniform, you know. Sorry, and I did my job.
yeah.
And Mum is a police officer, you
Oh,
know. I That was my biggest moment, being in uniform, like, you know, in the city, like where it's all happening, and being in uniform and knowing I had children. Massive highlight for me.
yeah. No, I get it. I get it. It is absolutely. It's a battle of adversity sometimes, and to
Yeah,
have the ability to carry it through. Oh,
yeah,
that's fantastic. And what about the low times? Because we've all had those in our police service. What are
yeah.
where does that come?
So that comes. So before I went into really serious disciplines of CID, such as child abuse, I'd had a conversation with family and my childminder and everyone, to, and friends, to make sure that I could commit and that the children would be, like, looked after if, you know, I was late or anything like that.
Yeah,
So I didn't want to not be able to do it all. So I think the low the things that I found more difficult, we'll call them. I wanted to do them. I'm not going to lie, but it was when I missed out because I was late off again, and I've been called in again, and
yeah,
I didn't see that assembly. I missed that Mother's Day. I
yeah,
had to leg it to that, well, miss that birthday party. I missed a lot of growing up. I missed parents' evenings, but I was also a role model. I was showing them that they could have it all. Like,
yeah,
so hard to explain. But I had to try and balance so much of my life and so many aspects of being a daughter, a wife, a mum, an aunt, a, a professional. I had so much to manage, coupled with shifts, long hours, schools, other people's lives that were really important, like my children.
yeah,
Um, so I think it's got to be for me the uncertainty of when you leave that out that door, when and if you return. that's the most difficult.
And I absolutely agree. I've said this before. My wife was a single mum for many, many weeks. You know, I'd get called out to a job and we'd be gone. And I just took it that that's what we did, you know, and selfishly, I suppose, I was having the time of my life traveling around the world, and she's coping with 2 young boys. And, you know, but then the benefits of that is we had stable wages. You know, the kids never went without anything. They had plenty of love.
Yeah.
They just didn't have us there 24/7.
Yeah.
If you had your chance to do it all again, would you?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Me too. I remember those. Listen, I remember the halcyon days, and I'm sure that you do too, because that's what we remember. And there's down times, but you know what? It's still the best job in the world. It's evolved, it's changed, and I do feel for them, because the job that I joined in '86 wasn't the job that you joined in '98, and the person joining today would, you know, I'm 40 years since I joined, so yeah, I mean there'll be people that were, you know, if they're 20 today, I'd already done 20 years, so that I find that quite bizarre, and the world does change. I think they're undervalued. I think they're really, really under-resourced. I mean, the police service, when you think about 1998, computers were still in their infancy in a lot of ways. People were using a dial-up on their
right.
You couldn't make a phone call and go on your computer, and you'd sit there for ages waiting for something to download. Now we've got it all on our phones. You could go to the moon and back on the computer on our phone, which is better than the computer that was on Apollo 13. So, you know, it's all those things. But, I do miss that. I don't miss the politics. I don't miss the arguments with the bosses, but I do miss that.
Yeah.
Alka Mistry, I hope I've really enjoyed our chat today. And
I have.
It's bizarre, because you asked me what would we talk about, and I hope that we've covered everything that you want to cover. I haven't probed into any jobs that you went into as per your request, because that's absolutely right.
Thank you.
But before we conclude this interview, and this was a saying that we used back in the day, is there anything you'd like to add, alter, or clarify in relation to the statement that you've made today?
No, nothing. No, it's all good.
Look, I'm really fascinated by the arranged marriage and the caste system, but we could talk for hours about that. What I will ask though, is that I assume that your daughters will be able to find their own partners in life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good for you, girl.
Yeah.
Listen,
thank you.
Take care. God bless you and your family. And
you.
I really wish you well. Okay.
Thank you.
Take
care.
Thank
you.
There you go.
Thanks for having me.
You're more than welcome.
Take care.
Have a great day.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.